I'm Eric Range, live from the Deep Eddy Media Lounge. Charlie Crockett, hanging out in the studio. How are you, buddy?
My brother, I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm well. I'm on a mountain. I'm getting to see some great music and getting to hear some. So, as Paul Thorne would say, too blessed to be stressed. He'd say it with that southern drawl like you have it, you know. Last time I was up here was the first time I ever got to hear you. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And at that point, you were relatively new in the scene and now a household name. Watching you get to play Red Rocks, seeing you stand in New York Times Square pointing at your picture, it's come a long way since then.
Wow, what households are you referring to?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. I don't know, brother. I'm glad. I don't know. I'm happy to be doing it. I'll tell you that. I really am. Yeah.
Yeah, you took a year off and took the money that you had worked up and paid for, to get your heart fixed. Mm-hmm. That had to be a process, too, going through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still going through it.
Are you?
Yeah.
But you're back, which is great to see you up here on the mountain. A lot of the fans are excited to see you up here.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be playing it, and I know my guys are, and, it really does beat pushing up daisies, and, I could have some other job, but I wouldn't be any good at that either, so.
Well, talk about, a lot of people have heard the story, but for those that haven't, your story, where you started and to where you are now, busking on the streets, moving it to New York, playing in the subways, is movies, soundtrack and world movies that we hear about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all yodelay hee-haw, really, but, I did all those things and still doing them. With some people, it's credibility. With seeing people, they get tired of hearing about it. I get tired of talking about it myself, but it's all true and then some, and but really, whoever you are, whatever you sing, whatever you play, it's gonna show through, So whatever road you walk on to, pick and grin, the folks are gonna know, even if they don't know your background, they're gonna feel it.
Absolutely. Had to teach you a lot, and you learned a lot when you happen to play in front of people that weren't necessarily there to see you. Now that you get playing a lot in front of a lot of people, those skills that you learned on the street, put those on stage, had to help. Yeah,
on the street, in the bars, every little piece of the way, man, really, because when I was playing on the street, I'd carry an acoustic, and I'd play the acoustic all day in New York City and New Orleans, and a lot of these Colorado mountain towns. I used to play in downtown Durango. And it was real easy to hitchhike around the high Rockies. People are real open to travelers, real open to roots music in Colorado, and so that's part of the reason I lived here off and on. And, I'd play acoustic kind of all day, and I'd always carry an electric guitar with me in a case for the evening. And in the evening time, I'd hit the bars real hard trying to get on it. Mostly at blues jams would be the kind of the place I could get up, and if the guys running the jam liked me, it might go well, and if they didn't, I might get thrown off stage, and, and slowly but surely I figured out how to lead a band, and the way that I was so rough around the edges, that was when I was on the street, that I mostly played by myself initially, and coming to lead a band, the biggest problem I had initially was communication, because I didn't know chords. I didn't know how to identify the key I was in or anything. The good thing about blues as a format, as a style of music or kind of a way of playing, like with a band, is like I learned how to communicate what I was playing. I eventually learned like the blues style of numbers, like the blues numbers, not really the Nashville number system, but more the blues number system, So eventually I figured out how to tell the guys, what kind of blues I was playing and what key, at least to be able to start that kind of stuff off. And that kind of went to leading bands. And right around the time I started being able to kind of lead bands is kind of when I got on the national circuit, which was, that process was really quick. The street was, I guess I didn't really start touring with an agent till I was 31. But of course I had been playing for close to 15 years before that. But
sure,
it was mostly unamplified and a little less political.
Exactly. Well, even Bruce Robinson will tell you, and Jack Ingram, sometimes you played for 20 years, and next thing you know, you're nominated for the New Artist of the Year, or they see you as a new artist, although you've been doing it for 20-something years now.
You got to have gratitude.
That's right.
For that. I did an interview actually in New Orleans not long ago, and I was actually complaining to the guy about having to tell the same story over and over. And
Absolutely.
He goes, Charlie, they could just stop asking. And actually, that kind of hit me deep. I was like, yeah, you're right. I guess the one thing worse than telling your story over and over is not being able to tell it at all.
Yeah.
So it don't really matter. It don't really matter how you get there. You just want to get there.
Sounds like you've got there by watching you live. Selling out at Austin City Limits a couple of weeks back. Red Rocks, all the shows that you're getting to do now with the band, and people have discovered who Charlie Crockett is. And it's fun to know that you're going to be up on stage here at Steamboat. How many shows do you have? Do you know yet?
I think maybe just a couple. We're
Right.
playing tonight and tomorrow, I think. Yeah, just the two.
Absolutely. Play us a song for. I'd love to hear you sing.
I'm gonna try something out on y'all. This is old folk blues I used to play in the street, and I kind of come up with a fresh way to play it. It's called Judge Harsh Blues. Good morning, Judge. What may be my fine on this early morning, November 29? They brought me in for murder and I ain't harmed a man. They screaming bloody murder, but I ain't raised my hand. Judge Harsh Blues. My woman come running, $100 in her hand, screaming, please, Judge Harsh, won't you spare my man? $100 won't do, better run and get you 3. Then I spare your man the penitentiary. Judge Harsh Blues. Please, Judge Harsh, make it light as you possibly can. I ain't got no money and I sure ain't gonna win. I would beg for mercy, but this vacant town's too small. This town's so small, feels like I ain't got no voice at all. Judge Harsh Blues. Good morning, Judge. What may be my fine on this early morning, November 29, Judge Harsh Blues.
Charlie Crockett, live from the Deep Eddy Media Lounge, hanging out. Great song, man.
My brother, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I do have to ask you, I've seen your show several times, and you got a kind of that Dwight Yoakam dance move. Where'd you pick that up from on stage, or is that just natural and just started happening?
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. I'll tell you, I can't do it without a guitar in my hands.
Right.
That's what my girl, she says, how come the only time you can dance is when you holding a guitar? I said, I don't know. So I learned how to stand behind it, I guess.
Involuntary, just happens.
Yeah. I can't really two-step at all either. Whenever we go to the honky tonk, and it's so funny how the gals are. She always wants me to dance, and I just want to listen to the band. And I said, well, don't you know the boys that get up there and sing this stuff usually don't really dance to it because all we're thinking about is playing it. And but eventually she got me. She got to the point where she can lead me, but make it look like I'm leading. And I can get through a song.
First time we ever met, I was trying to lob softballs. I didn't know about your career. I didn't know the history of it. And sometimes an artist comes in front of you don't know. And somebody passed me a note, and it said Ernest Tubb and Loretta Lynn. That's all it said. And then I ask you, I'm like, here we go. Are you a Ernest Tubb fan? And your demeanor changed. And it was.
I remember that.
Well, heck yeah, I'm an Ernest Tubb fan. And you broke into E.T. all of a sudden. Is that your foundation, some of those old school artists? Or is that I never knew why she handed me that note, but it clearly meant something to you in some way.
Yeah, I wonder who that was. I'd like to thank him. Yeah, I guess maybe the first kind of old country song I learned how to play was Driving Nails. And I remember I used to go over to this, it's kind of like a flop house in the St. Roch neighborhood in New Orleans when I was there. And there was this gal that played on the street. She was pretty good. She knew a lot of old country blues stuff. And she was just staying in a room there, and they had a big record collection. And they had all this Ernest Tubb stuff. And I always knew who he was, but I didn't know his music, you know. And when I first heard him, I didn't get it, you know. And then, or I didn't understand what I was hearing, you know, because it's a lot of that old stuff, even Hank Williams, all this type of stuff for like young people, the things that they're used to hearing now, this old stuff is so jarring because it's not as wrapped up in a, you know, pretty paper. And so it was jarring to me when I first heard it. And then, but like so many of the artists that I came to love, I would learn this stuff, you know, through a blues guy, you know, at a place in Dallas that I was playing, or I would learn Hank Williams or Ernest Tubb off a street player, and then later on realize that, you know, either Ernest, you know, he recorded it, or, you know, Hank Williams wrote, like, My Bucket's Got a Hole in It. You know, when I first learned it, I learned it off this guy sitting in front of this grocery store on Royal Street, and he was playing this song, and I said, man, that's really catchy. I said, you write that? And he goes, that's a Hank Williams song. You don't know that? My Bucket's Got a Hole in It? And I didn't, you know, and it was a long time ago now. And so, you know, I forget how Ray Charles put it, but he was just talking about how, you know, you hear country and blues and jazz and soul, and everybody wants to classify it and file it away in these certain places. But I never really knew any other way besides kind of sticking it all together. And so,
like a gumbo of music.
My foundation was simple folk and blues stuff, and then the beauty and simplicity of the storytelling in classic country music just stole my heart. You know, and Loretta and E.T. would be easily, you know, they're second to nobody, both of them. And the funny thing about E.T., you know, is I've told this story before, but, you know, when I first heard him, I thought, man, this guy really can't sing too good. And then I got better known, and everybody started saying I sang like Ernest Tubb. I said, well, I got no choice but to rep him now.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that was my intro into Charlie Crockett, and I have loved watching you since then, and watching your crowd and your fans grow. Before you get out here, can you do us one more song?
You want to hear another one, man?
I'd love to.
Dang.
I think they would love to as well.
I'm going to play one for you here. Let's see.
Your button gonna get you.
Yeah, it always does when it's real quiet like that. I was up in Montana working on this little picture, this little film, and we were running around up there outside of Butte, actually Anaconda, Montana, and had a little bit part in this. It's like an indie film, and these guys was driving us out to the location, was way out in the Anaconda Mountains, and took a long time to get there, and they were whispering, they were talking back and forth in the front. They had been shooting these rodeo scenes, and there were all these pretty rugged Montana cowboys that had been riding the broncs for them, and they had heard these guys they'd overheard these guys talking about something called Cowboy Candy, and I decided to write a song off of that. This is it right here. Shit, I can't play this morning. You saw my photograph as you was walking in, an invitation to the world I'm living in. I've got my clean shirt starched up, all brand new. I'm about to do-si-do because my bills are due. Cowboy Candy. Cowboy Candy. So it's cowboy candy when I get up, and if they call my name, I hope I have enough. It's so to make my suffering just disappear. That's why you see me smiling from ear to ear. Cowboy Candy. Cowboy Candy. I'm a long way from the promised land. Believe I once knew grace until she slipped my hand. So don't slow down, boys, on account of me. I've been biting down on that cowboy candy. Cowboy Candy. Cowboy Candy.
Good stuff. Charlie Crockett live. Deep Eddy Media Lounge with Coke FM. Enjoy your MusicFest, your Steamboats this year. And it's good to have you back up here.
I'm going to try. Pleasure belongs to me, brother.
Man, and thanks for coming in.
Oh, no, that really, it ain't nothing at all. I appreciate y'all supporting me down there